about the poet. This is a picture of William Blake. He was born on 28th of November 1757 and died on 12th of August 1827. He was an English poet and painter, largely unrecognized during his time. Blake is now considered an important figure in the history of poetry and visual arts of the Romantic Age, when nature was glorified. Romantic Age was the time when most of the poets wrote about nature, about the beauty of nature and about love. So that was the Romantic Age, and William Blake is one of the important poets, and he was also a painter. He was an artist, a versatile man. He was quite spiritually bent. Although Blake was considered mad by contemporaries for his strange and unusual behavior and views, he is held in high regard by later critics for his expressiveness and creativity and for the philosophical and mystical undercurrents within his work. So, during his time, people thought that he is mad. He was a bit strange in his behavior, and so everybody thought that he has lost his mind. But he was a very deep thinking man. He was later on, the critics realized how expressive he was in his poetry. He was very creative. He was philosophical in his work. He had mystical undercurrents, which means he had something spiritual. And he wrote about he wrote about spiritual realm, that is about God and about angels. He even had visions about angels when he was a little boy. So this is why he was different from other people, and because he was different, he believed in God, and he had visions of angels and God. That's why people thought that he is a bit crazy. His paintings and poetry have been characterized as part of the Romantic movement and as pre-Romantic, in which poets wrote about nature and glorified it. So that was a time when poets wrote about nature. Excuse me. Now let's go to the poem. When the birds sing on every tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn, and the skylark sings with me, oh, what sweet company! But to go to school in a summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. Ah, then at times I drooping sit, and spend many an anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bar, worn through with the dreary shower. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, droop his tender wing, and forget his youthful spring? O father and mother, if buds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy in the springing day, by sorrow and care's dismay, how shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear, or how shall we gather what griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year, when the blasts of winter appear? Now let's go to the explanation. This is the first stanza, okay? We'll come to the explanation part. When the birds sing on every tree, the distant huntsman winds his horn, and then the skylark sings with me, oh, what sweet company. He's talking about, in the first stanza, Blake introduces the reader to his main character and speaker. In the poem is told from the perspective of a young schoolboy who feels trapped in the monotony of the everyday attendance to his studies. So this is about a schoolboy who's the speaker, who's the narrator, and the reader finds out that he's the main character. So this is about the from a schoolboy's point of view. The perspective means from the schoolboy's point of view, the boy is trapped in the monotony of the everyday attendance to study. That means every day you have to go to school and come back home, go to school, come back home. So that's monotony, that becomes very boring. It's very monotonous. The young narrator speaks about the things he loves in this first stanza. He loves, well, what does he love? He loves to get up early and hear the birds singing. See, I put a picture there, the early morning and the bird is singing. Further in the distance, he can hear the horn of the huntsman, the man who is out there hunting, and the song of the skylark. Skylark is the bird, it's a bird, dark singing bird, who seems to sing only for him. This gives him true happiness. So the child rather be out there in the morning. He doesn't want to go to school in the morning. He wants to go out and enjoy the beauty of nature, the huntsman's horn and the bird singing on every tree, and it seems as if he is only singing for him. So it's in the company of nature that he is very happy. That's why he calls it a sweet company. Now the next stanza. But to go to school in a summer morn, oh, it drives all joy away. Under a cruel eye outworn, the little ones spend the day in sighing and dismay. The second stanza presents the exact opposite. In the first one he is happy, in the second one he is very, very sad. He says all the things that drive all joy away, all joy is taken away from them. When he is forced to rise on a summer morn means summer morning, and go to school, unable to stay in his peaceful environment, he is very unhappy under the unsympathetic eye of their worn out teacher. He bemoans this and his classmates' fate, that they are stuck inside, frustrated and disappointed. They are so frustrated, they are so disappointed. They want to go out and play out in nature, but they have to stay under the cruel eye, the strict eye of the teacher. You see in the picture, the teacher is trying to teach them. So very strictly the teacher is teaching them. And so the young boy wants to go out and run about in nature, enjoy nature on a summer morning. Then at times I drooping sit and spend many an anxious hour, nor in my book can I take delight, nor sit in learning's bar, worn through the dreary shower. So he says the young speaker continues on telling the reader more about his miserable days at school, how miserable, how horrible it is for him to stay inside. He sits drooping. Drooping means hunched over his seat. Okay, he takes no pleasure in schoolwork. He is not at all happy in doing schoolwork and is anxiously waiting for the end of the day. He really wants to wait. He wants to go out. So he is waiting for the school day to get over. He cannot even take delight in his book or sitting in learning's bar. Bar actually, children, is the place where it's a greenery covered like a canopy, or if it is covered with leaves and you sit there, so it's a shady place. So he cannot even sit in that shady place with his book. He doesn't want to sit in one place, as it has been all worn or spoiled through the rain. All that, it's like the rain, the shower of learning all the time, continuous shower of learning. So it's like the rain that has spoiled his little shelter. How can the bird that is born for joy sit in a cage and sing? How can a child, when fears annoy, but drooping, droop his tender wing, and forget his youthful spring? Now this is the fourth stanza. In the fourth stanza, the speaker pleads with whoever is listening and asks how a bird that is born for joy, referring to himself or others that think like him, be asked to sit in a cage and sing. How can he knows that he is made to learn, read and write, but he cannot do so in school, a place he considers equal to a cage. So he is comparing the school to a cage. He says, how can I? He has compared himself to a bird sitting in a cage. The school is the cage and he is like the bird who is caged in the. So like a bird sitting in the cage, he is also caged in the school. And he says, while they are inside, their tender wings drooping, they are forgetting the spring of their youth. While they are sitting in the class, it's just like a bird whose wings have been clipped. The wings are drooping. Their tender age is also they're also losing their time, their tender age, their youthful time, the spring time, that is the youth time, how they are, the time is going by and they are not able to enjoy out there in nature, and it is almost as if the bird's wings have been broken. O father and mother, if buds are nipped and blossoms blown away, and if the tender plants are stripped of their joy on the springing day by sorrow and care's dismay. In the fifth quintet, the poem, the speaker turns to address his parents as he sees them as the ones that could possibly change his situation. Now he's looking at his parents in the fifth quintet. Quintet means the little 5-line poem. In this verse, the 5-line verse, he is talking to his parents and he thinks that the parents can change his situation. He speaks about his own childhood joys as being buds that are being nipped and blossoms that are blowing away. He has compared himself, his joys, his childhood joys are like little buds of flower, and that the buds of flowers are being nipped. You see that in the picture I have shown, that somebody is breaking that flower, nipping the bud, so the flower is being destroyed. So the poet is asking, how, O mother and father, it's our youth, our childhood joys are like, our joys are being destroyed, the blossoms, the flowers are blowing away by sitting inside and not learning outside. His happiness is delicate like the tender plants. He should not face sorrow and trouble at this young age. So he says, at this young an age, sorrow and trouble he has to face like this. So he is worried. How about his future? How at this tender age I am missing out all the fun. How shall the summer arise in joy, or the summer fruits appear? Or how shall we gather what griefs destroy, or bless the mellowing year, when the blasts of winter appear? If he is indeed stripped of his joy, stripped means removed, his joy is removed and given sorrow in return, then how can his parents expect the appearance of fruit in the summer? Means how can he really learn? How can he really become a good person, a normal person? They should, he states, worry that due to their choices he will never be the same. He will be unable to stand the blasts of winter when they appear, which means how will he practically equip himself for hard times in future? Which says, how can he really give some good results? Or summer fruits appear. He says how in summer, if he has to sit in the dreary classroom, he would rather go out and learn through nature. And he says, then how can we gather what griefs destroy? Grief or unhappiness doesn't give us any learning. So he says, how can I give any result? And how can I enjoy my future? Because in my youth alone, I am not able to equip myself. And he says, how will I learn in the years to come? How will I prepare myself for the what future holds for me, or the hard times that future gives me? How will I equip myself for it? So he feels that school on a summer day saps all the youth and happiness from him. He appeals to his parents, saying that if his youth is shortened by such experiences, he will never be able to enjoy the remainder of his life either. So he says he will never be able to enjoy. So all the summer day, it saps all the youth. Saps means takes away, removes all the youth and happiness from him. So he said he will never be able to enjoy the rest of his experiences in life, the rest of his life, if he is not able to enjoy his youth. If he is prevented from fully experiencing the joy of childhood, then how sad it will be when he ages and can no longer hope to do so. When he can no longer hope for any joy, when he starts to age, when he becomes older. Now here's the conclusion. The poet attempts to raise our sympathy and compassion for the plight of young children. So he wants us to understand what children feel. He has celebrated the innocence of childhood and tried to reach people through the emotions. He's tried to make people understand what, from a child's point of view, what the child really wants. This poem is about allowing children to be children. Yes? Don't you agree with him? I'm sure that you all agree with him wholeheartedly. So, children ought to be children. How? To play and to run and play outside, to experience the benefits of nature and of the seasons. That's why it says on a summer morning. On a summer morning, he wants to go out and enjoy the singing of the birds. So all the nature, when seasons change, all that he wants children to experience firsthand, rather than sitting in the classroom and learn about seasons. Won't it be good to go outside and see the difference the seasons have in them by going outside and experiencing them firsthand? This practice is equally as beneficial to them as academic learning. So, like academic learning is very good, but practical learning is also very important. That's what the writer wants to tell us. And in such times, like a beautiful summer day, the speaker can pay no attention to his lessons. He would rather be outside. So, on a beautiful summer day, if you understand, this is written. He's an English poet, so he says about in his country they have less of summer days, so they don't have very hot summers like we. If we think of summer, our summers are very hot, so we don't want to go out. Maybe early in the morning is fine, but later as the day progresses it becomes very hot. Well, in those countries, cold countries, they are very excited when the sun rises and when the sun gets warmer. So it's a time for them to go outside and play. So sometimes they even have holidays, some people, and you can enjoy your summer days. So this is what the poet wants us to understand, and I'm sure he will become your favorite poet, children, because he has written from your point of view. He wants you to learn from nature, from practical life, and not really sit in one room and droop and sit sadly and have a monotonous life. He wants you to have an exciting learning, an excited life, an exciting life that you can learn from and you can enjoy learning instead of sitting in one room and learning. Well, nowadays you can't compare this, you can't really go because nowadays it's difficult due to the pandemic. It is advisable for you to be patient enough and sit inside and do. Of course, if you have a little garden, if you don't have a garden, you can have flower pots and you can put your own seeds, sow your own seeds of flowers, and you can make your own seeds also from the fruits that you get. You can make your own seeds to plant. And even for a kitchen garden, you can have a kitchen garden for your help your mother raise some seasonings like coriander leaves and mint leaves and all these. So this will make you learn about how many days they can sprout. And onions also, nowadays there are many DIYs given in the Facebook, so I'm sure you'll like learning from them. Well, children, I hope that you enjoyed this poem. I hope that we will come back again next time. I don't know, maybe this with this of course with this I'm going to give you some answers, so you can write those answers in your copies. Well, children, happy learning. God bless you.